Ambassador Hills, are tariffs the greatest?
No, tariffs are hurting our economy. You know, diplomacy is the greatest. But when you look at what the steel and aluminum tariffs have done, we've lost 16 jobs for every job that we created in the steel industry. So this is not the way to go.
Where does it go from here, given the president doesn't appear to be backing down? I hate the word doubling down, but that's what he's doing here when it comes to this trade tactic.
I worry about that. I think that we should, it was a shame we pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. What we could do through negotiations is open the markets so we have more opportunity. But not only are we losing jobs because of the tariffs, but we're losing investment. You know, if you look at the first quarter of 2016, the inward investment was about $150 billion. The first quarter of 2017, when President Trump was in office, it dropped to $90 billion. This year, 2018, it's down to $49 billion. This is not going in the right direction on any score.
So what do you make, Libby, over at PIMCO of the market's action? If Ambassador Hills is right that it's slowing the economy and investment into our country, why does the market appear to continue to brush it off?
You know, I think for a few reasons. I mean, I think primarily, at this point at least, the macro effects of the tariffs have been pretty de minimis, right? I mean, we've seen the steel and aluminum tariffs, we've seen the $34 billion of Chinese goods, but, you know, for all intents and purposes, it's been pretty small, and it's very much dwarfed by the fiscal stimulus that we've seen, both from the tax cuts, but also from this large spending bill that was passed earlier this year. So I think at this point, the market is just assuming, I think, that this is a negotiating tactic. I think we would take some issue with that. And at this point is more focused on the fiscal stimulus and the robust growth and the animal spirits that continue to dominate the economy.
I mean, when does it become a macro event, as Libby says, Ambassador Hills? When does it actually start to show up in the data? Is that if the president goes forward with all $500 billion worth of Chinese imports? Well,
we will feel the effect. I agree that the market, because of the tax program and the economy, is relatively strong. But just wait. If we can't come to a resolution with our trading partners, trade falls off, inward investment is destroyed, and there's a tit-for-tat tariff battle, we are going to have a terrible time with our economy.
I mean, Libby, what's the cost? Is this going to be a midterm impact?
Yeah, I would agree with Ambassador Hills. I mean, we think that we've had this long-standing view that things are going to get worse before they get better. Especially as it relates to China. So I think that the macro impact could be meaningful down the road, just given that there really isn't any sort of clean resolution at this point, given what we are asking China to concede. They do not want to make concessions on their industrial policy. And so I think that from here, it is going to escalate, and then you could see some macro impact.
You don't think Juncker brings any kind of salve tomorrow?
I don't think so.
Really?
I think that, you know, clearly Angela Merkel wants to avoid auto tariffs, but, you know, that's only one country in the European Union. And what I think Juncker has made clear is that he is coming here to talk, not to come to make deals. I think that the best resolution or the best outcome from tomorrow's meeting could be more of a commitment for further discussions. But at this point, I highly doubt that we see any sort of resolution. And I will just say to the midterms, midterms, I think that President Trump thinks this is a political winner for him. And honestly, the polls would corroborate that. 75% of Republicans support President Trump's approach on trade, and he thinks this will galvanize Republicans for the midterms.
Even if it slows the economy, though, as Ambassador Hills predicts?
I think he assumes that we will be in a better place ultimately, and that the economy is so robust that it can endure some short-term pain.
Times does a big piece today on workers who at a plant who are being affected in a negative way and yet are sticking with it because they think the long-term benefits.
It's so interesting. People are not necessarily putting their own self-interest above kind of the national interest. They think that this is good for the country, and even if there's some short-term pain, they're willing to endure it.
Ambassador Hills, just very quickly on NAFTA, since you've been on the other side of that negotiating table, what do you think of the president's newfound friendship with the incoming president of Mexico and seemingly bilateral discussion? Unclear whether that involves all of NAFTA or whether they're going to have to pressure the Canadians at some point? Where do you think that's all going?
Well, I hope that we keep it as a North American agreement, because we've made this region the most competitive in the world. And I know that representatives from the United States and Mexico are getting together this Thursday. Let's get it worked out. We want to modernize the North American Free Trade Agreement, not tear it up. Talk about loss of jobs, the destruction of our supply chains. This would be horrific.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.